Hi everyone, it's Theresa here of Larkin Design, and today I want to share with you a tutorial for the Sahlin Studio blog. Recently I've been doing some hybrid layouts using digital pattern papers and digital templates to create silhouette cut files. And so these are two of the layouts that I have recently created this way, and I wanted to share with you my tutorial on how I generate silhouette cut files from a digital template and from a digital patterned paper. So let's get started. Okay, so you'll notice here that I am in my Photoshop software. I use Photoshop CC version. I highly recommend the subscription-based service, but you should be able to do this in Photoshop Elements as well if that is what you currently use. And so I have opened up one of the patterned papers from the Project Mouse Wilderness collection. It is the pattern paper that I used for the background on this layout. And so the first thing that I want to comment about is that if you want to do this, select a pattern that has a very distinct pattern repeat. And you can tell in this patterned paper, you can definitely make out the outlines of the leaves and the acorns. And it has a very definite pattern repeat that will make a great cut file. If you want to look in some of the other pattern papers in the Wilderness collection, something like this textured paper might not work out as well because your silhouette is going to have or your die cutting machine is going to have a hard time picking up where the pattern is. You could do something like this one that has a very definitive pattern. You could do this buffalo check. That would make a great die cut pattern. These little mountains here would make a great little die cut pattern. So choose your patterns carefully in this regard. And so, but I've chosen this one, acorns, leaves, great pattern repeat here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the adjustments layer and I'm going to click on black and white, and notice how that turns the whole pattern paper black and white. Now, first things first, when you go to save this, you want to save this as a separate file. Don't alter your original pattern paper. If you do, you can always hit undo. But once you have it converted to black and white, you can bump up the contrast a little bit more using these sliders and just play with this to make it have the contrast that you feel like you're going to need. And what you're looking for is enough contrast between the background and the pattern itself so that your die cutting machine will pick up the difference. And once you have that contrast pretty well set, save it. Again, save it as its own file. Don't overwrite your original pattern paper. You might regret that. Once you have your contrast bumped up and your pattern paper is saved, then open up your Silhouette software, and we're going to open that document that we just saved. So let me go in here and find it. And I've saved it under Project Mouse Wilderness, and here I've saved it as a PNG and also as a JPEG. You can open either one. and let that load. And here is our pattern paper. Now, I have left a border around this whole patterned paper. And I do that just by clicking on the image and dragging it so that it is where it needs to be. If you extend this to the edge, then you can do that, but I think it looks better. It looks better with a 1/4 inch border, just a little bit around the pattern itself. And so now I'm ready to trace. So I'm going to go into the trace function in the Silhouette software, select the trace area, and I'm going to just drag over the whole thing. And you'll notice it defaults to the high pass filter and it leaves some of the pattern not cut. So I'm going to turn the high pass filter off, and that helps. The leaves are now all going to cut, but the acorns are not going to cut. So sometimes if you bump up the threshold, that will help. You can go too far. 60% seems to be pretty good on this one. If you go too far, it may yellow your background. But I'm going to leave it at around 60 or 70%. And then click the trace button. And now you should have a red line around everything. So what you can do to check and make sure is move that, slide that across, and you'll see your pattern is ready to go. And at this point, you can delete the original contrasted patterned paper and then send it to your Silhouette. Adjust your cut settings here. I recommend using the cardstock setting if it will bring it up. Not that. Here we go. The cardstock. The cardstock setting, and have your blade set at the proper depth. And that is how I did the pattern paper. Now, in the second layout that I showed you, I had done a template. So let's open up that template and see how we can convert a template into a cut file. So let me go to the monthly template. That was for September of 2018. And you have several options for the template files. You have a PSD and a TIFF, and then of course I have a PNG saved here. So I'm going to open up the PSD file. And this is going to have all of the layers. I'll give it just a minute here. And so the PSD has all of the layers for each circle, for each element. And at this point, you can absolutely bring in your photo and print it here so that you have the size that you want that photo to be set. For creating the template, there's several ways that you can go about doing this. You can probably flatten this entire image or pull up the JPEG and convert it to black and white, similar to how we did the pattern paper. And that's a pretty simple way to do it. I think what I did was, for that specific layout, I opened up a couple of patterned papers and chose, like, there's a red and white patterned paper, and made sure that I had enough to punch out 5 red circles. And the same with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue turquoise circles, and the number of gray circles that you had. I used a circle punch to punch all the circles out of the pattern paper with. And so what I want to do for the cut file itself is I want to use this layer, and it's called Paper Matte Neutral. If we turn that off, then we see where it goes, right? We see that's the one that we want to cut out of our cardstock. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide or turn off all of the other layers. And the reason for that is because I don't want the silhouette to recognize those layers, and I don't want the silhouette to cut those layers. I have one more. It's the background. Okay. And we can certainly, oh, there's one more too. What is this one? The paper. Right. And all we're left, whoops. All we're left with is the circles. So we do actually want those circles left on. There we go. Okay. What we don't want is the photo and the title and all of those extra layers. Okay, so that is going to tell us where the silhouette is going to cut. So at this point, I am going to flatten. And first, I'm going to add another layer above the background. And to help with the contrast, I'm going to select white, and I'm going to use my paint bucket tool to turn that layer white so that I have a good solid white background, high contrast background. And now at this point, I'm going to flatten the image. Okay, discard hidden layers, that's fine. And at this point, save your original, save your new file so that you are not editing or altering your original. And now I can go into adjustments and convert it to black and white. And at this point, I will have a good contrasted image here that the silhouette will pick up fairly easily. So I'm gonna save that, although for the purposes of this video I'm going to just hit revert so that I don't alter my original. I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to open that up in the Silhouette software. So let's go back in to the templates, monthly templates, September 18th, and that's the one that I had saved originally. And now I have it opened, and I can go into my trace menu, select the area to trace, and I'm just going to drag it across, turn off the high pass filter, and that looks pretty good. I think it's going to do a pretty good job here. Select trace, and then I can make sure that that traced it really well, and my design is ready to go through the silhouette and create the cut file. So I hope that this tutorial has been helpful to you. I love using digital pattern papers and digital templates to create cut files and create hybrid layouts. And I hope that you'll try it. Be sure to share with us if you try this technique. We would love to see. You can use the hashtag Sahlin Studio, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye-bye.